Welcome to The Outsider's Way in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where you'll find the original house from the movie that launched the careers of folks such as Patrick Swayze, Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe, and Tom Cruise, to name a few. The museum was great. Be sure and check it out when you're in the area. We got to see some movie props and had a tour led by some of the extras from the film.
Well, I'll catch you up on a little bit of the history of the museum. You guys can free to kind of walk around, go at your own pace. So down here in this picture is our owner, Danny O'Connor. He bought the museum. He got it back in 2016. Took about 3 years to kind of renovate it and open it as a museum in 2019. When he bought the house, it looked nothing like it does today. It was completely trashed. I mean, there was no saying it was what an abandoned house would look like. He had just been outside. He hadn't actually been inside yet. And so when he bought it, he got it for around $16,000 sight unseen, which obviously he thought was a complete steal. He bought it because he fell in love with it, and he can't believe no one else was doing anything to keep it up to, standards. And so when he came inside, he was just in tears of how nasty this place was. It looked nothing like it does now. The structure wasn't even the same. So all the outside is original, but if you look at the fireplace, they completely had to gut out the inside of the house. I mean, there was no saving the place. They pretty much ripped it down to the sticks and bones. They could barely save the structure, but luckily they did. They ripped up all the floors except these two. The living room and the dining room are the original floors, so I like to tell people you are standing where Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, and all those guys stood back in the day when they were filming. As you go through, anything you see behind ropes or glass are original, on-screen worn used items of clothing worn by the actors and extras, which that's so you don't touch the clothes for obvious reasons.
He's in the scene several times. He's the superstar. Up here, he is. There he is back there again. You'll see him really good. If you want me to pause it on this one scene, I can do it.
It was really fun to meet this extra that was kind enough to show us the autograph wall.
Main characters, how many of them have signed the wall?
Okay. Top one, you can't barely read it, is Darren Dalton, Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe, C. Thomas Howell, and Ralph Macchio. And that's Issy Hinton. She was the nurse that asked Dally what he did with his gown. And the rest of them are extras.
We had another really fun extra that showed us how to reenact some of the screen grabs. And later on, she tells her story of how she got into the movie for 3 seconds.
Look through here, find the letter that Johnny wrote. That's it.
Are these clothes original or?
Yes, anything that's behind the barricade is original, worn by the actor shown in the movie. So yep, that's one of Pony Boy's jackets that he wore.
And here's Tom Cruise's jacket after the muddy fight scene. And now she tells us her story of getting into the film.
I was 13 years old. My friend was 14. Her mom had a 1957 Chevy Nomad. We were out at Admiral's Command for 2 nights. The first night, all we did was run around and around and around trying to get her car in the movie. The second night, my friend ended up not going. And I was like, but dude, all these guys. I was 13, she was 14. So we already met Ralph and Matt that first day. So I guess she felt like she met as many as she really wanted to. She didn't want to go back the next night because she had to babysit. She didn't want to she didn't want to cancel on these people that she babysat for every other Saturday night. So anyway, she said, just go with my mom. And so I did. I went by myself and I decided, I was just going to get out and take a walk. I got out of the car. I walked straight through a scene. They had to cut. I had my Owasso band jacket on. I hear this, hey, Owasso band. And I was like, that is so weird. I am in the Owasso band. I just kept on walking. Obviously, I didn't know what was going on. And then really loudly, I hear this, hey, Owasso band. And I thought all the actors, were looking over at me, but they were like looking behind me. So I turned around, and all I saw were lights, cameras, silhouettes of people, a guy with a bullhorn, a bunch of director's chairs. And I was like, I think I'm a Owasso band. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing, man. I'm just going over here. He's like, no, what are you doing in the movie? I was like, nothing, man. Just riding in the car with my best friend's mom. He's like, well, do you want to be in the movie? I was like, sure. He said, well, we can't pay you. I was like, I don't need to get paid. He said, well, if you want, go down to wardrobe. Tell him you're going to be a greaser's girlfriend. Come back up here. We'll put you to work. Oh my gosh, I never ran so fast in my life. Tell my best friend Mom what I was doing. Then go to wardrobe. They put me in a light blue sweater, a white collared shirt. Actually, it wasn't even a full shirt. It was just a dickie. Took my Nike shoes, gave me plain white shoes, went back up there, and we proceeded to film that scene the rest of the entire night in the bitter freezing cold weather, by the way. And I made it in the movie for 3 seconds. Another story I like to tell in this room with these guys is during the day of that evening when I got to be in the movie later, I was just walking around and I saw Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Darren Dalton, and C. Thomas Howell. They were standing outside the makeup trailer. They still had their Kleenex and between their shirt and skin, so they wouldn't get their makeup on their clothes. And Patrick Swayze was holding a football, so I just kind of was like, to see if maybe he would throw me the ball, and he bombs me the ball. I catch it like I'm running in the NFL, turn around, and Darren Dalton standing there like this, and so I throw it to him, he throws it back to me. I throw it to Emilio Estevez, he throws it back to me. I throw it to C. Thomas Howell. Now when he throws it back to me, he threw it a little high, I went back, I had to jump, and then I just came down, and then slow motion till I was right on my rear end, and then I was so embarrassed of falling in front of them all. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so embarrassed trying to just get up in front of these, beautiful people. I mean, they were all really handsome. And C. Thomas Howell runs up to me, he puts his foot right up against mine like that. He bends over, he's like, can I help you up? And maybe the only time I was ever speechless in my life, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because he was just like, and this is the Admiral's Theater. So the day before I went up there, I was there for 2 days. The day before we got there, so this would have been on a Thursday, 80-mile-an-hour winds came through, blew this part of the Admiral Twin Theater off onto some of the classic cars. So when we got there the first day, which was a Friday, that had just happened the night before, and Rob Macchio was over looking at some of the damages that were done in the car, or to several of the cars. My understanding is one of the cars got totaled, and when the woman got there and saw it, she fainted. So this was the scene that I actually just started walking with some of the other people, walking through the scene, and went to wardrobe. They put me in a light blue sweater, white collared shirt, took my Nike shoes, gave me plain white shoes, went back up there. We proceeded to film this the rest of the night in the bitter freezing cold. Don't blink or you might miss me. As soon as Emilio smacks him upside the head, I'll be so far in the background, walking with my greaser boyfriend. Don't blink, you might miss me. And there I am.
Of course, I get to fame.
Yes. There's my greaser boyfriend that I have not met again to this day since that night.
That'd be so cool.
And here is the Admiral Theater 40 years later.
This is the jacket that Dallas was wearing when he robbed the grocery store, the convenience store. You can come over here and see the slit in that jacket right here.
Thanks for watching, and remember, stay gold.